My name's Ariel. My art name is Ariel Danielle. I'm 28. I forget. To be an emerging artist, I've had a lot of experience that I didn't think I'd have already at this time. I am hopeful and optimistic that my art will be something special in my lifetime. I've done a lot of gallery shows. I will say that most people that have collected for me have been retired NBA players. Being in the museum, going to see my painting there, selling my painting to someone associated with the NBA. I used that money to buy my first legit car. I started just because I wanted to do something creative because it's what I enjoyed, and I just didn't think there was anything else that was for me because I didn't really have any other interests. So I started doing art because I enjoyed doing art, but then I found the meaning for me creating art throughout the process of me learning to paint is when I also discovered why I should keep painting. I would say Carrie James Marshall is a big influence for me, and Alice Neal. She influenced my style of painting. What influences it? Showing a narrative of a Black female's life in modern day. That's my inspiration for what I paint, is giving that narrative of someone living now that's like me, the relatability and the representation. So I just want to have my art do what Carrie James Marshall's art did when I saw it, and I was amazed by seeing these giant paintings of African American people having a great time. I want people to have that same experience when they see my paintings. A lot of people can relate to wanting to see someone like them in media, so you feel like you're not alone in the world. Having someone to relate to is just important in general. So I think for Black women or Black people in particular, because that's all I can really speak on, it's nice to see someone that's like you in a positive narrative. I think it just helps you grow as a person when you can relate to other people and their experiences.
What gets you motivated, or who gets you motivated?
Life. My life. That's what my work is about. So as long as I'm still living and experiencing, that's what keeps me going. Seeing other artists, dedication and everything that they're doing, that keeps me wanting to keep up with everybody else. So, because that's just the type of person I am. I have to want to do something, or I probably am not going to do it. My earliest memory of my life was just me and my mother. I'm one of the cliches of my birth father disappeared before I got to know him. I think it was a rough start for me and mom in the beginning. Me and my mom lived with her dad, my grandfather, just us trying to get by. And then she met my stepdad, who I call dad because he's my dad. Throughout childhood, I had my ups and downs. I think I was pretty good. So that's why I say my childhood was probably pretty average. I remember, I don't know if it's the first thing I ever drew, but my first memory of trying to seriously draw was when I used to try and draw Sailor Moon. I had a friend in elementary school, and we were both obsessed with Sailor Moon, and we would just draw Sailor Moon and Sailor Jupiter. And I remember really trying to make my drawing of Sailor Moon look like Sailor Moon, but I remember my friend was actually way better at it than me. I used to collect Archie comic books. I had a whole box of them, and I would try and draw Betty and Veronica and try and make them look exactly like the comic book, because I guess it was just fun for me to try and match. Then I went to college, like we said earlier. I went in literally with no plans on doing schoolwork, because I just didn't have the free wills on my friends. My curfew was before everyone, things like that. So when I went to college, I kind of just went wild because I finally had the freedom that I always wanted. My freshman year, I wanted to major in art, but my parentals didn't think that was a good idea. So they told me to major in business and minor in art. So I think initially, not to blame them or anything, because I probably would have not gone to class either way. But I was so bored with this business major that I was like, this is gives me zero interest. So I was definitely partying like almost every day and just doing whatever I wanted to do until I realized like, oh, you can get kicked out of school. So then I had to come home because I got on academic probation because I wasn't going to class. Time of being home was a very dark time because my parents were very obviously disappointed in me, and so they were treating me like a disappointment. The whole time I was home, I was really just like low, like depression was at a very high point. After I had to leave because I was on academic probation, I still hadn't reached the point where I was taking art seriously. That year, I still didn't really know what I wanted to do. I had thought about joining the military, and I thought about going to beauty school. Mother was still very disappointed. I remember her saying this in the car, and it stuck with me. She said something like, "I just thought you'd want more for yourself." So that's when I was like, well, I guess I'll just go back to school. So then I went back to school. I initially went to get an art degree because I just couldn't think of anything else that I would want to do. I didn't go into school thinking I actually would end up being an artist. I just didn't know what else I wanted to get a degree in. Some artists are fortunate because they have natural talent. I don't have natural talent. I learned to paint throughout being in college. Like the paintings I was doing in my first painting class, So it definitely helped me. I wish I didn't have all the debt afterwards. I don't know what I would be painting right now, or if I would even be painting if I didn't get a painting degree. If I didn't go back to school, there's no telling what I would be doing right now. I didn't really get serious about art until my junior year. I wouldn't even say my second year. My third year is when I was like, this is what I want to do. Some schools don't really prepare you for the real world after you graduate. You get your degree and then you're kind of just tossed in the world to figure out what to do with this. After graduating college, I had a good year and some change where I just didn't know what to do. That time was probably my hardest time. Luckily, I have Derek, who's my husband, who I've been with since I started taking art seriously. We were together. So he's always been there to help me out, if I ever needed help financially, and still to this day, he's definitely been top supporter. But no, yeah, I know in the beginning it was a rough start for me, so I get why I wasn't taken seriously in the beginning. But I mean, by the time I was finishing college, I was doing pretty good, and I still wasn't being taken serious. So after I graduated, I just kind of tried to figure out how to do this art thing. It took me a while, but I'm finally on the track of making a name for myself. What I'm definitely most proud of is being in California African American Museum. That's number one, because I've never been in a museum before. That was my first museum experience as an artist. And for two, it's an African American museum. So it's for that to be my first museum experience, that's number one for me. I put a lot into that painting, and I feel people recognize that I put a lot into it, so it's probably my most popular painting too. I actually went out there. I went to California to see my painting, and there was this party the museum threw. So it was just a whole insane experience. My topic is myself as a Black person, because the representation levels through art are different, and representation for curators and people that work in museums or work in galleries, that it's not very equal when it comes to a Black person or a Black woman also. It's definitely just not where it should be quite yet. Even in college, I didn't really learn about Black art. There really wasn't any African American artists that I learned about. When I got out of college, I learned about them on my own. A lot of the stuff that I apply for is geared towards African American artists. I just think we deserve to be seen. The more art made by someone like me, the better, for everyone to feel they're represented. For me personally, I feel my job now is to put more Black woman art in the world for people to see. I think educating people that don't really know or haven't really seen this narrative, adding representation, because I kind of had this experience before. I was in a show, I won't say where it was, but it was in a gallery that was more traditionally white gallery, and I went to the opening, and it was more white people than Black people. But I could tell that the white people were really just they enjoyed the Black art because it was something they weren't used to seeing. And the painting that was in the show my painting that was in the show was like braiding my friend's hair or twisting it, and there was just a lot of white people that were really just like interested. They're asking questions. I was telling them like, well, yeah, it takes like hours to do this to people's hair, and they're like, really? Wow, like blah blah blah. There's that side of like kind of showing people that don't know about it. They get exposed to a different culture. And then also there's these girls, these young Black girls that were looking at that painting, same show, and they were telling me how much they relate to it. They're like, this is so me, like this is so me and my friend. Yeah, I would want both for my art, because I really enjoyed that experience of seeing like kind of both sides of how art can be taken in. I really like the community, the African American like artist community, like the people I've met while living here. I really just love that connection, that relationship. I love my culture and I love sharing it through art, and now we're here.
Yay. And one last question.
Okay.
Who's your favorite sibling?
I might have other siblings, so I can't pick, because since I don't know my dad, I could have a really cool sister or brother out there. So, I guess if I had to pick, I would say Sam, because he seemed like a pretty chill dog.